My uncle chased me out of the house. I was living in the church store when I got to the US. So we're going to day labor. We were raising up our hand like prostitutes, right? And the coordinator of that labor would say, I need 2 men digging all day long, $10 an hour in the hot, scorching sun. We were digging and then dragging the rope that was used to pass, I think, water or something like that. So I wanted to run back. I got 3 jobs at the same time. I paid for so many courses. I'm a very confident person. I don't care who or where or what. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to learn how to sell. Anybody should learn how to sell. If you're broke, learn how to sell. If I want to learn something, I'm very ambitious, I'm very aggressive on anything I want to do. Selling is the greatest skill in the world. If God wasn't by my side, I believe I would have maybe used the word quote unquote perished.
Hello everyone, and once again welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneurs Connect show. As always, you know what we do here. We interview African entrepreneurs across the board, hearing their stories, learning from their journey, their successes, their failures, and everything in between. My promise is simple as always. There are going to be a lot of lessons to learn. Now we have a very special guest in the house. Today, this is somebody I've always admired and somebody that is my boss, actually. It's a privilege to have him on the show today, Mr. Tolulope Michael. Welcome to the Entrepreneurs Connect show. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. I'm doing good. It's glad to be here, and I'm grateful for your invite. Thank you so much, and I greet everyone watching. Thank you. It's my pleasure. I also greet everyone watching. Trust me, it's going to be a wonderful time having nice conversation and just catching up. Yeah.
100%. So let's just get right into it. Do you have any expectations before we move ahead?
No expectation, but I'm not going to go into like real details. You understand? You know how people yearn for, they want to know everything about you. That's what I want to have, but every other thing. Yeah.
Of course, you're going to share things that are going to be helpful. So,
of course, 100%.
100%. Great. So let's go. I'd like to start by asking you. First question is where does your story start? What was growing up like for you?
Well, thank you for that question. I think growing up was interesting. Growing up was also challenging, if I would say. And the reason is because I've got to go through things that if God wasn't by my side, I believe I would have maybe used the word quote unquote perished. And I will tell you why. When I left secondary school, because my secondary school was in Akure, Ondo State. So when I left secondary school, I came to Lagos State. I stayed with an uncle of mine, and I was the street that we were staying wasn't really a good place, right? And I'm not going to call it ghetto because that's what most people will say, but it wasn't ghetto for real, but it wasn't also, that street wasn't like a good place. Let me just stop at that. Now there I met some friends, okay? And even though we were not doing things that were ungodly, but if I had not on time got straightened up by external factors, such as some friends that I got to meet that took me to church, because right from Akure in Ondo State, I was always a church boy. But when I got to Lagos, I relaxed a bit. I wasn't going to church anymore. I wasn't doing all that until I met a friend of mine that introduced me to a family, and that family took me to a Foursquare church. So that was where the journey started. And I would say from there, talking about school, talking about writing O-level exams, going to lessons, all those coaching centers all around, and getting admission and all that, I found help in that church. And I was able to scale through up until I found my feet, even after college. So I'm just going to summarize it, that way. That was how I was able to, I believe, so to speak, scale through those challenging period. So growing up was challenging. I remember there were several times that I I didn't have anything, and I would go to church, ask my pastor's wife. She's late now, may God rest her. So I would ask her for lesson fee, sometimes even school
Oh,
fees, and then
mm.
even my choir mistress, my choir director.
You used to
Uh,
sing?
no, I play drums. I play
Oh,
drum.
oh, nice. That's something
Yeah.
similar about the both of us.
Yeah, like any drum at all, drum sets, jazz, conga, like anything at all. Even right now, I play talking drum, right?
Oh, wow.
So I was doing that. So I was getting help, and at a point, my uncle chased me out of the house. I went to stay with a brother in church. I was living in the church store. I was in the
Hmm.
store for a while, and after that I went to a brother's house. From that brother's house, came to another brother's house again, that finally became like my uncle till today. And from there, I got my own apartment. So that was how the journey went. So that was why I said it's not really smooth, but
Yeah.
thank God for life. And here we are
What,
today.
what did you study in school? I'm curious.
Computer science.
Oh, interesting. You're always
Yeah.
interested in coding and all of that.
Yeah, it's interesting because even when I was in Nigeria, I didn't really do anything with computer science. I didn't do
Oh, wow.
nothing. Yeah, I didn't start writing codes. And when I said code, not like heavily writing software code,
Yeah.
because I started working as a pen tester. So I was writing some scripting to do my job. So, Python scripts, bash scripting, and all that. I think that was the only time that I would say that I was able to write code. And again, we have tools that we could, reach out to for
Yeah.
help. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was how that started. Yeah.
That's interesting. So, would you say that you're a born entrepreneur, or would you say that circumstances of life made you an entrepreneur? Because I mean, for the average Nigerian and African, we are quote unquote forced to be entrepreneurs because of the situation of the country and circumstances and all of that. What was it in your case?
Well, I haven't thought about this, but I would not. I wouldn't say I'm a born entrepreneur or it's inborn or I have it in me. No, I might say it's circumstance. Again, maybe that is not also correct, and I will tell you why. So, when I was in Nigeria, I always strived to always want to do something. I remember when I was in Lagos State government at that time, I used to have a director. My boss is now a director there. Very fantastic. I worked with fantastic people there. Now, I used to tell him, like, I wanted to do agriculture. I wanted to help people, like farmers. If you're a farmer and you have cassava, I wanted to have a factory where you could process your cassava, turn it into grain and into starch and into other things like that. Also, I remember back as far back as 2011, 2012, I was going around Lagos State and Ondo State hosting conferences to help people who wanted to
Wow.
travel to Canada.
Wow.
So I was doing that as far back as then. So I've always wanted to do something like business to make money, but I don't know if I qualify to call myself, like I'm a born entrepreneur. So now coming back to the US, when I got my first six-figure job, I used to tell my friends when we have Bible study, because I have friends that we do Bible study every Tuesday. I used to tell them that, guys, just getting six figures a year is not enough. We've got to do something. And I do come with ideas. And before now, I have done several businesses in the US that failed massively. They failed woefully.
Can you
But
take me back to your earliest memory of the first business you started?
thank you. I think my first business that would be the training. That would be the training people on how to get admission and
Okay.
to also get their visa to go to Canada.
Canada one.
How did that come about? I have a friend. I used to have a friend then.
Yeah.
She wanted to go to Canada when she finished from the university. So she went to an agency She did, they did everything for her. She paid so much money. Unfortunately, the visa was denied. And
Wow.
she didn't want to go back to those people because they took so much money. And
Yeah.
I said, okay, let's do this together. And I helped, including writing all, every letter, emails, collating all the documents. I did everything, and she got a visa.
Yeah.
And she said, Tolu, you're very good at this. Then she introduced someone to me. I helped that person as well. And that was how it started. So that would be the first business that I can remember that I ever did.
So it looks like you're very good at spotting opportunities wherever you go to.
I think I am. I believe so. And, there's someone I respect in the comedy space in Nigeria. It's popularly called King of Comedy. Alibaba is someone I respect so much. He used to call himself idea generator. And I think I shared that trait as well. Because when we have conversation and we're talking about what do I have to do, what are the ideas, and immediately they tell me what they do, I immediately create business out of it. And they're like, are you thinking about this before? I'm like, no. Sometimes myself, I wonder, how do I get these ideas? So yes, I believe so.
Beautiful. Let's talk about cybersecurity for a bit. How did you stumble on cybersecurity? I mean, you're on a big cybersecurity education company today and all of that. But as a person, how do you stumble on cybersecurity?
Thank you for that question. When I got my work authorization to work in the US, I was doing all sorts of jobs. I did before I got my work authorization, I was working in factories. So after I got my work authorization, those in the US will understand this. Now we know that, okay, now you can do some job. So I was doing Amazon Flex. I was driving for Amazon Flex. After I finished driving for Amazon Flex, I discovered that I could do more with Uber. Then I started driving Uber. So I got to church, because I've driven so much and I was tired. So I got to church, and there is a friend of mine that used to teach Sunday school. He's still a friend of mine, very close friend of mine till today. So he now told me that why don't you go into cybersecurity? And that was strange to me because I felt that cybersecurity, I used to think, is this like big deal that you need to have piled up certifications, you need to have done all this before you could even get into becoming a cybersecurity professional. So when he told me that, I felt like this is rubbish. But he persisted, he insisted that this is something that you can do, even if you didn't have any background in computer science or not, owing to the fact that I even have the background. So, and that was how it started. And I started getting, going on YouTube, paying for courses. I paid for so many courses. That's the truth. I can't even remember the number of courses I paid for. Bought books. Like I was like, should I say, engulfed in that process. Yeah. So I remember I'm driving Uber, right? When I'm driving Uber and I drop a passenger, before I pick another passenger, I'm watching video of the courses that I bought on cybersecurity. So I do that like every day. Now when I get
home, good time management there.
Yeah. So when I get home, I already set up a lab in my home because I was learning to be an ethical hacker then. So I already set up a lab in my home. Then I would be there from like 9 to about 1 a.m. I'll go to bed. So I was doing that on repeat. And do you know that when I was going to get a job, then there was nothing like remote. Maybe I would have taken all the 3 jobs. Do you know I got 3 jobs at the same time? These 3 jobs were the ones that I did final stage interview. The last one, I remember vividly. This is to anyone who might also be going through the same thing. This is just an inspirational moment for you. I remember my last interview for that last job. It's an airline company, and I got the job as well. I drove to O'Hare Airport in Chicago because I was driving Uber. So when it was time for me to go to the interview, I drove to their headquarters. put on my jacket, went straight there, finished the interview. Right after that, went back to the airport, removed my jacket, and continued driving. It was on the Friday. That interview was on a Tuesday. It was on a Friday that I got the email, offering me the job. So that was how my cybersecurity journey started.
Beautiful. So this is you from Nigeria to the US, and then you're driving Uber in the US. How did you adjust? I mean, you're already working in Nigeria before you went to the US, and all of that. I think you're pretty comfortable. Anybody that is migrating to the US in Nigeria is pretty comfortable, right? And then how long did it take for you to adjust the culture shock and all of that?
It took time. That's a very interesting question. It took time. See, the truth is, I was going to run back. I wanted to run back to Nigeria.
Are you serious?
Yes, and I will tell you why. Let me tell you why. When I got to the US, I came to Dallas. Dallas was my first destination.
Yeah.
Now, the person that I was staying with, that is why when you're traveling, again, there's so many lessons in this video. Those of you that are watching and you want to relocate, see, the people you stay with, the people you met first is very important and very critical to your journey when you get to your destination. So when I got here in Dallas, the people that I stayed with, they also migrated to the US about 6 months prior to my time. So they didn't really have information. They didn't know anything. So we couldn't work. We couldn't do anything. So we're going to day labor. There's something called day labor. Okay. We're going to day labor there. We were raising up our hand like prostitutes, right? So when you go to that day labor, you pick a number. When you pick that number, you raise up your hand when a contractor comes. Who do they call contractor? These are people who wants to do a job, either for their home or they want to move. So they will come to that day labor to come and pick workers that work for them for that day. That's why it's called day labor. So when you go there, I raise up my hand, the contractor will come, and the coordinator of that labor would say, I need 2 men digging all day long, $10 an hour. So I raised up my hand, I was picked, and we were digging. Like, Dallas is hot, even more than northern Nigeria. And I came around May, right? I got here in May. Mind you, that wasn't my first job. My first job was demolition. Someone that was demolishing their house, were helping them to pack rubbles and all that. But this particular one, in the hot, scorching sun, we were digging and then dragging the rope that was used to pass, I think, water or something like that. So I wanted to run back, but my wife encouraged me to stay. You need to know the reason why you left. I'm like, they didn't pursue me from Nigeria. I can still go back. Now, one of the culture shock that I got to understand is that here, they do not despise honest labor. It does not matter what you do. It does not matter what you do. They do not despise what you do. It was here that I went to a barber shop. Then we were looking for where to cut our hair for $5 because we didn't have money. And we got to this barber shop. The guy is a Nigerian, has about 5 or 10 barber chairs and have people working with him. Do you know that this guy lives comfortably more than a bank manager or more than the middle class in Nigeria? I'm talking to someone who cut hair. Probably for that, like, these are things. Then another thing, because this is a culture shock to me. I went to a Walmart, a store, and I found senior citizens that are working 60, 65, 70 something. And I'm like, why is this? Because I know this would not happen in Nigeria. Imagine you go to ShopRite. Imagine you go to ShopRite and you see someone that is as old as my grandmother attending to you. Just imagine that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So several things like that I was seeing that I'm like, and then the things that you can say either openly or say to some people. For instance, when you go to work, there are certain remarks that you can't give to your female colleagues or even your male colleagues that will be termed sexual harassment. So there's so many things that I have to learn, and I believe that those that are coming, they have to also get used to things like that as well. There's so many things that were short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What motivated you to stay back at the time? The digging, the manual day labor, and all of that.
Well, I mean, I've only talked about digging and day labor. There's several other things like ridiculous jobs. Do you know that? Let me tell you this one. You know PSP. You know what they call PSP in Nigeria? The vehicle that takes that cut away our trash, right?
Yeah.
Loma.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
worked with them. I would hang behind the truck, and when we get to a house, we'll pick the trash can, dump it in the truck, put it back.
Wonderful.
Meanwhile, while we were doing that, the truck would not
The guy is
move.
moving. Exactly.
The guy is moving, so you
You
have to
have to
keep.
be running.
Yeah. So if you're not fit, you can, and there is nothing like being lazy or being tired. That is why one of our popular skit maker, Woli Agba, is one of the guys that I really like in that industry. He said something in one of his videos that if you come to the US and you cannot work, he said you rather stay in Nigeria because Nigeria is actually covering you and covering your laziness. But if you get here, you will do the job. So that was one of those like terrible job that I had to do. I would say terrible, but to American, it's daily living.
Yeah,
So what really encouraged me to stay was number one, family. That's number one. Family. My wife encouraged me to stay, always talking to me, always advising and encouraging. Also, to understand that there's a reason why you're here, and to have the future in perspective, that irrespective of what was going on, there is still a reason why you're there. And because people have come and they've succeeded, it's very important. Finally, I was meeting people that was in my shoes, and at that point they were living abundantly. So they were encouraging us that don't worry, we've been there. Don't worry, we've been there. So we're always looking forward to the time where, like this particular time now, where we'll be thinking and then talking like it's in the history. It's in history rather. So those were the reasons why I stayed behind. Family and people that were encouraging me here. Yeah.
Of course. So, having gone through this experience yourself, and I mean, you now run different companies. Yeah? When you work with people and they are giving tasks to do, tasks that are not even up to like the kind of things you did when you came to the US, and then they are giving 1,001 excuses why they cannot do it. So what's your attitude to that?
Number one, I think I've come to understand that number one is environment. I think our environment encourages that. So let me give you one of the reasons why I said environment. In the US, if you don't work, you won't eat.
That's when the Bible said, "Let's him that no eats now."
Yes, that's the truth. Except if you're unemployed and you can claim, not even claim, you can prove to the government that you lost your job, then you can get unemployment benefit or allowance. Aside that, if you don't work, you're not gonna get anything. But in Nigeria, even if you're lazy and you're not working, you can still get something. Let me give you another instance. In Nigeria, you can owe your landlord for a while.
Yeah.
You can owe your landlord, and you pay once a year. Here, you can't do that. You can't. It goes on your record. It stays on your record at least for 7 years. So there's so many things that permit that laziness in Nigeria, right? And not just Nigeria, maybe other African countries. And in the West, especially US, is not permitted. First and foremost, you need to know US is a capitalist economy. So you just have to put in the work. So when I give people tasks and they give thousands of excuses, my team know I do not condone excuse. I don't accept it. No, the excuse is what you're telling me, that this is the reason why I'm not fit to do the job, and the next thing is to let you go. I don't just condone excuse, except number one, if it's family, if it's health, things like that, yes. But aside that, no excuse.
So you run different. How many companies do you run right now?
I run 4 right now. 4.
You have to tell us about them.
Okay. Well, anyway, let me talk about 2. I'm going to talk about 2. No, let me talk about 3. I think I run 5. Okay, I run 5, but I'm going to talk about 2 or 3. Number 1 is Excel Mind Cyber, which is where we train people and help them get jobs in cybersecurity. That's number 1. Number 2 is Excel Mind. Excel Mind is based in Africa. So if you want to write O-level exams, or you want to write UTME exams, or you want to write professional exams, you use our software to simulate that exam, to kind of practice and learn, so that when you get to the exam hall, you know how it's done. Number 2, there's a predictive feature that we're working on, that say for instance you want to write JAMB now, it will predict, using the last 30 years exams, it will predict the likely questions you can get, and also predict the areas where you should concentrate on, so that you can come out with good result. And the reason why we're doing that is you realize that last JAMB, there are about 1.7 million people wrote the exam, and close to 80% score less than 200. So we want to see how can we help at least 10% of those people to do well in WAEC, NECO, JAMB, or any other exams, any other exam that they might want to write. So that is Excel Mind. And the third one is Applied Home Health. Okay, this is an home health agency where we have staff. We get contract from the government and even from private entities. So we send people to go take care of senior citizens in their home, and we get paid for it. So I have a partner that we run it together. We have a branch in Chicago, and we also have a branch in Dallas. There's one that is also coming up right now. It's called Lightfort. Okay. Lightfort is AI powered learning system. So talk of Udemy and ChatGPT put together. That's Lightfort. So basically what we do is, let's say Joseph want to take a course on digital marketing or how to be a good YouTuber. You come on Lightfort. There are instructors, there are courses there. You take your lesson, you take your course, and when you're done, you want to get a job. Okay, so on our platform we have AI resume writer. Okay, it will write your resume to pass ATS. So for those in Nigeria, some people might not understand the meaning of ATS. ATS is an applicant tracking system that they use in the West to rate and score your resume, and the minimum score that you have to get is 85%. So our software will write your resume to Word standard, Harvard standard, and even more, and pass ATS. After your resume is done, then you want to apply. There's auto apply as well that will help you to apply for as many jobs as you want in a month. Say for instance, you want to apply on Indeed, Glassdoor, ZipRecruiter. Put those websites there, put your resume there. It will apply for you, and the company would not know that this is AI applying. It will apply as you. And finally, when it is time for you to do interview, because you've applied and they call you for interview, we have AI mock interview as well. So this is a video, all right? It's like, say for instance, we have Joseph's image on that platform. So you click the image you want, you click the voice you want, a video will pop up, okay? And it will be there as Joseph, and will be interviewing you, and you would also respond. And after the interview, it will give you a feedback and tell you everything that you've done right, everything you've done wrong, and how to improve. So, and when you get a job as well, there's also AI help that will help you. Say for instance, you get a job and your manager asks you to give me, just go do something. Your manager gives you a task. You can go to the AI companion on that platform to tell the AI like, hey, I'm a YouTube director or I'm a digital marketer. My manager has tasked me to do this. Walk me through what to do step by step, to walk you through it. So Lightfort is basically taking you from where you do not know nothing to becoming a professional.
For
I think I'm going to talk on
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So for someone who came into the US, did a lot of menial jobs, drove Uber for a while, and all of that, this is quite daring. It takes a lot of guts to rise through the ranks and then start building businesses. What is your mindset when it comes to spotting opportunities, building businesses, especially for people who are immigrants?
Okay. Thank you. So I think because we are immigrants, we have this drive. I don't. I think I should take that back. Not because we are immigrant, because our environment has prepared us for that. Because I know there are other immigrants here that do not have that drive.
Mm.
So our environment has prepared us for that. Because why did I say that? Our environment did not intentionally say, I'm going to prepare you to be tough to do this. No, it's because we had to adjust, we had to fend for ourselves, we had to do so many things, and we had to survive. So we've built that that mentality, right? And number two is that I'm a very confident person. I don't care who or where or what. I'm a very confident person. I consider myself, and this is not I'm not boasting, and this is not pride, but is a statement of fact. I know of myself, and people have also alluded to that fact. So to spot opportunities and to pursue it, I do not shy away from the challenges that I will face, and I do not shy away from the fact that it's going to take a lot from me and take a toll on me. So I face it, and I know that whatever we have to do, the fact that people are doing it, I can do it better than them. So I think I learned this from Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo that said,
Wow.
you go somewhere, you see what people do, and you do better. He says you copy it right. You copy it right. So when I see that these guys, they're doing this, and I want to do something different, I can do better than them. I just have to work 10 times harder than them, and I will get results. So as immigrants, I think it's important for us to understand that there is absolutely nothing holding us back. See, not your accent. You can hear my accent. I have a very thick Nigerian accent, and I don't care. I do this to present everywhere. I go to speak. I don't care. You will have to be forced to listen to me because I have something that you want to hear.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So I wouldn't want you to think about your accent, think about your color, don't think about that at all. You have something to give. You have to be confident about it and give it to the world. So I think that has been helpful.
As an entrepreneur, do you think learning how to sell is important?
Learning how to sell, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to learn how to sell. Anybody should learn how to sell. Whatever you do, whoever you are, you should learn how to sell. As a matter of fact, we sell every day. We sell every day. Why did my wife marry me? I sold myself to my wife. So you go to a hospital, that process of the doctor diagnosing you, asking you questions, that is selling, right? The doctor can give you a medication and you say, no, I'm not taking it. But you can't say no because they've asked you questions. You've confessed with your own mouth that this is what is wrong with me and I think I need help. So when a doctor prescribes, you have to take it. If you want to ask your child to do something, sometimes your child can be heady and say no, or be asking you questions. Today's kids, they always ask you why. There are times that you have to also sell to your kids. So I don't think it's only entrepreneurial. I think everyone.
So it's a life skill, basically.
Yes, it's a life skill. Let me tell you this. Jesus Christ was the number one salesman, was the number one closer. You know why I said so? How can you just come and tell me, follow me, and I will make you? See, that I will make you is the transformation that those guys were looking for. That was why they followed him. Follow me, and I will make you. That is closing a deal, selling. All right. Peter was asking, okay, you want me to follow you? What's in it for me? Sell me why I should follow you. And he said, I will make you. fishers of men. So everyone, even our pastors, they are one of the best salespeople. Why do you think they have testimonies in church? Why do you think they do testimonies? Why do you think they? So everyone, you need to change your mindset about selling, and you need to see it for what it is. It's the greatest skill anybody can acquire. See, if you're broke, learn how to sell. If you know how to sell, you will never be broke in your life. I'll leave it at that.
How did you learn sales yourself?
I learned sales by should I say by compulsion or by force, by like I had no choice. I had no choice. I didn't know anything about selling. But one thing about me is, like I said, when I was even learning cybersecurity, if I want to learn something, I'm very ambitious, I'm very aggressive on anything I want to do. So why do I have to know how to sell? I'm starting companies. So I have to learn, number one, how to sell myself first. That I'm the solution to the transformation that you seek. Number two, I have to learn how to sell my product. Number three, if I do not sell the vision, my employees won't stay.
Yeah,
so
true.
My one of my companies, Lightfort, the lead operation was telling me the other day that, said, TM, I don't know what you gave to these people. I don't know what Kool-Aid they drank, but it's like everyone is slaving away. These guys, I'm talking about the engineers, the Scrum Masters, all of them, they work very hard, like very hard. And you would ask yourself, what did I give to them? It's because I sold them the vision. So I had to learn sales because I know that there is nobody is coming to do it for me. Nobody is coming to do it for me. So if you're here, you're watching this interview, we're just having a conversation. And you're a business person, either in Nigeria or America, wherever you're watching this, and you think that selling is, you don't want to sound salesy, or you don't want to appear to
I don't know why people are always afraid to sound salesy. The funny thing is that the customers don't even complain they are sounding salesy.
As a matter of fact, the customer wants you to sound salesy, and I will tell you why. Why did I say that? The customer wants to buy your product. All right. It is now your duty to help them make the right decision to buy your product. So if you don't do that, they're not going to buy it, even though they need that product. And they might go somewhere else where they will sell them something lesser of quality to your product. But because you don't want to sound salesy, you don't help them. What you're doing actually is helping people when you sell to them. You need to understand that I'm selling to you. What I'm doing is helping you.
I totally agree with you. I have, in fact, I have a personal experience from last year. I got on a sales call with this guy. The product was $1,000, and then we finished the whole sales conversation. And then the guy is going to pay, and then the guy comes to me privately, and he gives me an extra $100 and says, "Thank you very much." And I'm like, "Why?" He said, "Thank you. I love the conversation. Thank you for selling the product to me." I'm like, "For real?"
Imagine that. You know why? See, let me tell you something. For anyone that jumps on a call with you to close a deal, sometimes they know the value of that product. All right. They just want to know, tell me why I should do it now, and tell me why I should do it with you. So what you want to do is to help them make the right decision.
True.
But because you don't want to sound salesy, you're beating around the bush and you lose them. So I think that, and that is why I said selling, for me, anybody can argue otherwise. Selling is the greatest skill in the world. You know why I said so again?
True.
As an employee, do you know, as an employee, if I employ a product engineer or a product manager and I employ a salesperson, do you know, let's take it a top notch higher. I have a CTO, all right? I have a CTO. I have two CTOs, actually.
Yeah.
One CTO can earn like $6,000 a month, and I have salesperson that close a deal and get $500 on each deal. Do you know that this salesperson can make what the CTO will make in a year? The salesperson can make it in a month.
Of course.
So that's it. No need to argue about it.
What would you advise somebody that is starting a business today and is looking to scale the business in the next 1, 2, 3 years? What are the top 3 advices you give to the person?
Well, thank you for that question. I think first thing you need to understand is why do you even have to wait 2, 3, 4 years to scale? I read this guy's book. I can't remember. I think Benjamin Hardy that says that 10x is easier than 2x. And I've used that principle and I think it works. But for some people are very small-minded. So let's say 2, 3 years. We'll stop at that. I'm not going to go further on that. How do you scale? Number 1, you need to employ. You need to delegate. Why did I say that? The things that you do now, if you're not delegating and you're not having people help you, you're just a self-employed person. You're not a glorified employee. So if you delegate to people to help you, they will help you increase and scale the vision. That's number 1. Number 2, now in employing people, you must employ people that are better than you. I know some of you would have issues with that. Like, you want to employ someone, say for instance, you're an accountant. You have an accounting firm. And you want to employ an accountant. You're asking, how can I employ accountants that are better than me? Because you need them to scale the business. So you must employ people that are better than you. Number 3, leverage. We need to employ the power of leverage. I learned this thing from Pastor Mato Ashimolowo recently, where he was talking about leverage, and he said that leverage is from a guy called lever. That lever is this tiny thing that help raises your vehicle, right? And so the guy is a like philosopher, and he's like, okay, if this is what helps, then leverage simply means that it is not you doing so many things. It is looking at those tiny details in your business that will help you scale if you improve on them. For instance, you're selling a digital program. What are the things that you can do that will help you in terms of leverage? Maybe other people's audience. Like I'm having podcasts with Joseph now. Joseph has audience that I don't. So what I'm actually doing right now is leverage. So some of you that are watching me right now, you're watching me because you follow Joseph, not because you follow me, right? So that is what I'm talking about. There are things that you can do that would increase the scale and your effort, that will multiply the effort and multiply the output and the result that you put into it, and that is leverage. So you need to leverage very well, okay? And I think the 4th one will be and I think this is not really much talked about. This has to do with you, your mindset. There are times that maybe you need to change your mindset. Maybe you need to level up in terms of how you think about your business and how you see where your business should be in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Some of you, you're looking at your business that, okay, I'm going to do $1 million next year. Why can't you say I want to do $10 million next year? If you say you're doing $10 million and you eventually do 3 million, that is still good, rather than saying you want to do 1 million and you do 800K, right? So I think your mindset is also very, very important. So those are the 4 things that I would say for that.
Beautiful. So if for some reason, and this is a tricky question, if for some reason you lose everything today, how are you going to start again?
Very good question. And this can happen to anybody. It can happen to anyone. I mean, we've seen people in the scriptures that it happened to, and we also saw people in this real world that it happened to them.
No.
See, there's a proverb from the part of the world where I come from that says that, and I'm sorry to use, let me speak it in Yoruba and I will see if I can
Speak it and then you interpret it.
Yeah. Says Ogbon Logbon ni konjeka pe agbalagba ni were. It means that another person's wisdom is the reason why we don't call an elderly person crazy. The reason why you don't refer to an elderly person crazy is because they've employed that person's wisdom. If anything happens today and I get to lose everything, first thing first, I want to know, why did I lose everything? Number two, who has gone through that same situation before? What did they do?
Interesting. Yeah.
So once I understand this is what they did, then I can do same and even do it better. And say, for instance, when they started again, they were working 8 hours on whatever they were working on. I can work 16 hours on it. So for me, it is to understand, number one, why did it happen? Number two, who has gone through that before? And number three, what did they do to overcome and to get back up? And it has happened. There's so many stories around us. It has happened to so many people. And understanding that, then I know what to do and how to get back up.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We're coming to the end of this gradually. So, book smart or street smart?
Street smart.
Which do you think is more important? Do you think book smart? Do you think street smart? Do you think a combination of both of them?
The combination of both of them is good, but in terms of percentage, I would say street smart 60%, book smart 40%.
Why?
Okay, if you're having a board meeting in a boardroom, it's not book that will help you there. It's not book smart. You have to be street smart. That's one very good example, and I believe most people can relate with it. Number two, if you're dealing with people, especially as a business person, if you're dealing with people, it's not book smart that will help you to have them do their job or help them see the vision or even help you hire the best person. So I will tell you this thing I learned from Steve Jobs. He said, when you want to hire people, ensure that you must work hard to hire A players. You know why? Say, for instance, Joseph, you have a media organization and you employ A players to be your director of media, your marketing, your podcast researcher, everybody. Do you know that those A players, when they want to employ other people, they will also employ A players because they don't want to work with B or C players.
Yeah.
So book smart will not help you achieve that. You have to be street smart because there's so many things that you've got to know before you can deduce that this person is an A player. All right. And I think that dealing with people would be like the number one or even the most important reason why street smart is better than book smart. Book smart is to know, is to understand concepts, understand principles, right? Understand techniques, especially as it relates to your job. But street smart is how it encompasses everything. So for me, any day, anytime, street smart.
Wow, this has been a very, very, very insightful conversation. One last question I would like to ask you, and this is how it closes, is, when people watch shows like this, interviews like this, they have the notion that these people on these interviews, Joseph, Tolulope, they have everything about their lives figured out, everything about their businesses figured out. So they look at us as perfect people, quote unquote. So the question I want to ask you is to kind of bring out a little of your human side. What are you still trying to figure out in your life right now?
So I'm trying to, because there's so many of them. So I'm trying to. So now let me give you one instance, and maybe this won't count. I'm still not as organized as I should be in terms of
nobody would know.
Yeah, I'm still not as organized as I should be, and I'm still looking for help on how to stay organized. I I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to say the one that I won't be revealing too much because I know you guys want to know. I'm trying to. Man, I struggle with a lot of things. So I don't know which one to reveal, right?
But you just revealed one already.
Yeah, and even sometimes I struggle with when the end of the month is approaching.
Yeah.
Constantly thinking, how am I going to pay salaries? Right now,
please,
you know why?
Don't think too much, please. I beg.
Right now, I have about aside the staff here in the US, across board in Nigeria and India and Ukraine, I have around 68 staff right now, 68 that I pay every month. So when it's end of the month, there's this constant thinking, how am I going to pay salaries? You might think that you've got your life together, but trust me,
I can relate.
No,
I can relate.
you never get to that point where you believe, yeah, this is it. I'm here. No, it doesn't happen that way. You're constantly thinking, what's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen? Yeah.
Thank you very much for granting us your time. We've been on for 1 hour plus now because we had to do like some little setup and all of that. Thank you so much. I hope to have you on the show next time. Just before you go, do you have any last words for people on the show?
Well, I want to say thank you for those who waited till the end of this show, and I can only tell you, wherever you are now, whatever situation, whatever circumstance, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. That's not the end yet. The end is not yet come. So you just have to keep pushing. You just have to keep working. And as business owners, if you're here and you're watching and you believe your business is on the verge of collapsing, what I would just tell you is to stay put. Yes, we've always been told to know when to quit, but there's something telling you that this is not the end. I'm glad to also announce to you, it's not the end yet. Don't just throw in the towel. Just keep pushing. It's a cliche and people say that a lot, but it works. You have to have this tenacious mindset. You have to be tenacious. You have to be daring. Okay, you have to be daring, and I'm going to tell you, nobody has it figured out. Nobody. We are all learning as we go. Simply put, we all do not know what we're doing. Okay, so you're not alone.
True. Thank you very much. We have come to the end of the show. See you guys same time next week. Can you tell us to subscribe to the channel before you go?
Guys, please, you can tell that by subscribing to this channel, one thing will happen to you. You will not remain the same because you learn every time.
Come on.
If you still get close to learning, please subscribe. And if you're sharing with your friends and they ask you, where are you getting this nugget from? Just tell them it's from Joseph Don, because he brings the best here. And I want to see you subscribe. I'll be watching.
Oh yeah, subscribe. Take care of yourself, everyone, and bye-bye.
Thank you.